Yeah, it's obvious now that the Ugandans are waking up right now, and I'm very very happy that I'm seeing Ugandans coming out en mass, to support Bobi Wine. I'm really really happy. I'm very extremely happy because people are waking up. Like I said, there is a wind of revolution that is blowing across Africa and is touching every single country in Africa, and a lot of countries are feeling that wind of revolution. Now, Uganda was captured by Museveni. For the past 40 years, Museveni has been the leader of Uganda, has been the president of Uganda. And you can agree with me, for the past 40 years, Ugandans have been subjected into abject poverty. And now, a lot of people are, getting used to this kind of sufferness in Uganda that made them to be seeing Museveni as a saint or as a messiah, without knowing that Museveni is using his people to enrich himself and make his family live a flamboyant life. Now, Bobi Wine came out in 2020 or 2019, 2019 thereabout. He came out to contest for presidency, and everybody saw what happened. Museveni subjected Bobi Wine into beating, killing his members. Opposition members were being arrested, thrown inside jail, and a lot of things were happening in Uganda, and the whole world was on mute. African Union was on mute. ECOWAS was on mute. In fact, the United Nations was on mute. Nobody did anything. Nobody said anything. They were all watching what Museveni was doing to the opposition in Uganda. Now, during the election, Bobi Wine was subjected into house arrest. For over 3 days, Bobi Wine was in house arrest. He did not go out. He did not do anything. I even doubted if he even casted his vote. Everybody was on mute. And mind you, during this election, observers were there from United Nations, European Union, African Union, ECOWAS, and other countries were there to observe the election. They saw what happened and they kept mute. This is one of the reasons why when I come out here to tell you that African Union is a scam. These are a bunch of criminals, a bunch of puppets that gathered in one room, talking to themselves and claim that they are representing Africa. They are not representing me and you. These are puppets. Mark my word, these are puppets, these are scammers. There is nothing like African Union. In fact, we are not united. What is union about? What is united about Africa? First of all, an African, you cannot even travel from Gambia to South Africa without visa. So what is united about Africa? You cannot travel from Nigeria to Kenya without visa. What is united about Africa? A Nigerian will travel to Gambia and he will be treated like a foreigner. A Nigerian will travel to Ghana and he will be treated like a foreigner. What is united about Africa? And these people saw what happened during the election in 2019 in Uganda, and they kept mute. They said nothing until Museveni rigged the election. There was a massive rigging that to the extent the opposition were beaten, arrested, thrown inside jail, some were killed, and Museveni did not answer till today. That is act of genocide. That is act of tyranny. And you guys will come here to tell me that you are fighting tyranny in Africa, that Ibrahim Traore is a tyrant. What made Ibrahim Traore a tyrant when you cannot fight somebody like a Museveni that is killing his own people in broad daylight? To the extent after the election, Bobi Wine won that election landslide. It's obvious. Everybody saw it that Bobi Wine won the election. Why did Museveni manipulate the result and declared himself the winner? And the worst part of it is that when Museveni declared himself a winner, African presidents started sending him, congratulatory messages. European presidents, America, they were all sending him congratulatory messages. This is to tell you that your vote does not count. Even in 2026, I think 2026 or 2025, I don't know, very soon there will be election in Uganda. I can tell you for free that Bobi Wine will win the election and Museveni will declare himself as the winner. Somebody that have held power ransom in Uganda for the past 40 years and subject his own people into abject poverty. In Uganda today, you cannot find a good road. Before you can find a good road, maybe around the capital side or any other. But in rural areas, you see how the Ugandans are living. People are living in abject poverty. There is no good pipe-borne water. There is no good access roads in rural areas. There is no constant electricity. People have been subjected into abject poverty. Go to the schools in Uganda. They are nothing to write home about. There is no world-class medical facility. For the past 40 years, you are holding your people ransom. In 2025, you are still telling us that you still have you've not finished your mission in Uganda. For the past 40 years. I mean, most of the time, I keep wondering. I mean, I keep asking God, please, next life, don't allow me to be an African, please. Please, I don't want to be an African. I don't want to be an African because the injustice that is meted on the people is too much. People will bring out their time, sacrifice their time, their business and everything, and stand on the queue to vote for their conscience, to vote for their right, for their candidate. After they voting, the vote will be manipulated, and on the person that did not win the election will be declared winner. And the African Union will be quiet. European Union will be quiet. United Nations will be quiet. ECOWAS will be quiet. Everybody will be quiet. This is uncalled for, and I'm happy that the Ugandans are awake. And I'm pretty sure that during the election, they will stand to defend their vote. That is the only thing I can tell every Ugandan that is listening to me. If you are a Ugandan that you are hearing me now, go and cast your vote. Your vote will definitely count this time around, because you can see the crowd. You can see it clearly that Ugandans are ready for change. Ugandans are ready for liberation. Ugandans are ready to reclaim their country back from Museveni. You can see the high level of nepotism that is going on in Uganda, in Museveni's regime, to the extent that he made his own son, his own biological son, the chief staff, the CDS, chief of defense staff, his own biological son, and planning to use his own son to replace himself. High level of nepotism. The same thing that we are complaining in Uganda is the same thing happening in Cameroon. The same thing happening in Equatorial Guinea. So where are we? What have we done to deserve this kind of leadership in Africa? And most of the time is that these people pay heavily to these media houses, pay influencers to promote their leaders, their leadership, which they know very well that their leadership is zero. They fail. When people come out to demand for accountability, demand for good governance, they will be arrested, they will be thrown inside jail. If you go to Uganda today, you see a lot of people that are languishing in jail. They did not commit any crime. The only crime they committed is that they came out en masse to demand for accountability, demand for good governance. This is the problem that we have in Africa. And I keep asking, when will Africa wake up? When will Africa develop? How? When? We are in 21st century, for crying out loud, in 2025. People are still suffering for, means of transportation. Meanwhile, other countries are building rail stations, building railway, building electric buses that is enhancing, transportation in Africa. I mean, what is wrong with us in Africa? Why are we lacking behind? Meanwhile, Africa is one of the richest continents on earth. Africa has everything that you can think of, all the mineral resources that you can think of. Africa has it. Why are we still lacking behind? Why are we still categorized as third world countries in the world? And you can imagine, as big as Africa, 54 nations, today Africa does not have any permanent seat in the UN Security Council. No African nation, no African country has a permanent seat. Even Nigeria that is the giant of Africa, that is the biggest country in Africa, the richest country in Africa, the strongest country in Africa, does not have permanent seat in UN Security Council. South Africa does not have. Kenya does not have. Ethiopia does not have. All the countries in Africa, Libya, Tunisia, name them, does not have permanent seat in the UN Security Council. Then why are you calling yourself United Nation? You failed us in everything. You failed us in terms of leadership. You failed us in everything, in speaking up for human rights and everything. What is united about the world? What is united about the nations? Now, Ugandans, wake up. This is your time to reclaim your country from the scavenger, from these criminals in power, from these Western puppets. Wake up now, reclaim your country, support Bobi Wine. Bobi Wine is a visionary leader. Bobi Wine is somebody that is intelligent. Bobi Wine is educated. Bobi Wine knows what the people want. Bobi Wine has been in the street, so you understand the language of the street. So he will make sure that dividends of democracy goes across the board, reaching every single citizen of Uganda. So it is in your hands now to step up the game and vote Bobi Wine, so that we can be able to reclaim our country back. For crying out loud, we have suffered a lot. What is happening in Burkina Faso today is an indication that truly, Africa is still in bondage. When Ibrahim Traore will come up to say, I want to liberate my country, and France say no, that is to tell you that we are still under that colonization. We are still being colonized. Nobody can lie to me about that. Nobody can deceive me about that. We are still under colonialism. We are still under that colonial masters. They are the ones in charge of our resources. They are the ones in charge of our lawmakers. They are the one in charge to make law and tell our puppets, their puppets, whatever they want to do. That is why we are lacking behind. In 21st century, in Nigeria today, when you have an accident, you will have to pay a certain amount of money before you be treated, because government hospitals are not functioning. So only private hospitals are functioning. Our doctors are leaving the country, running to west to go and look for greener pasture. Everybody's running away. Africa is being left to rotten. And you think this is funny? See you guys in the next one. God bless you guys. To be honest, I'm not happy. I'm not happy with what is going on in Africa.